Hey everyone, Pam Savage with Young at Heart Creations. Sorry, I'm just a couple of minutes late, and as usual, not much of a voice tonight, but we are going to go for it anyway. This is what we're going to be painting tonight. This is a sled that I purchased from Erica Wallace with Wallace House Designs, and we painted this a couple of weeks ago, or this is how I painted mine. So several of you have asked, how do you get the sky color? Hi, Tammy. And just several things about it. So I thought, well, we'll just paint one live tonight. So that's what we're going to do. Mr. Snowman on a sled. And I love, love, love painting snowmen. Got one, a big one behind me here. He's about a 23, 24 inch. He looks small on your camera, but he's very large. Be doing a class on November the 20th. I have a paint party with some teachers that are going to be painting that. So that will be fun. Hi, Patty. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And if you've been watching my posts, you've seen that I have done so many Mod Podge projects for the craft show. And I decided to keep a couple for myself, but I'm keeping one of the rooster ones for myself. But here's one that I just finished. Several of you were asking me when I posted that, what do you do if you have a napkin that is smaller than the project that you're putting it on, the base that you're putting it on? This is on a 3D chunky canvas is what I call them. And this napkin was a cocktail napkin. So it's only a, I forgot the exact dimension of it. I think it was 4 by 4. So it's smaller than what I've got on here. So if you get the lunch napkin, then it's going to be big enough to cover the whole the 6 by 6 canvas. But this one was not large enough, so all I did, I laid the napkin on the canvas, took a pencil and traced around it, and then I just painted right up to that edge where my Mod Podge napkin would go. Now, I've added a few little things on here, but that's the way I do it. Even if it were on wood, I would do it the same way. I would lay down whatever I'm going to Mod Podge, trace around it so I'll know how far up to paint on it. So I hope that tip helps you. That's a good Tuesday tip. But I've also got another Tuesday tip that I posted a picture of if you're going to be tracing a pattern, and the pattern you need it reversed, and you're not computer illiterate, you know, like I am, or you don't have any way to figure out how to do that, just take whatever you're wanting to trace, your pattern, hold it up to a window, tape it on the window the right way, the pattern facing outside. When the light comes through it, just trace the back of it, and then you've got it reversed, whichever. Like the lemons that I was doing the other day. I wanted some lemons going this way, some lemons going this way, but my pattern was only one-sided. So I just taped it up on the window like you saw in the picture, traced around it, and there we go. We had either side, whichever way you needed it facing. Hi, Teresa. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, and hi, Jan Jones. We're going to be painting on a sled. We're going to be painting, oops, I've got him on an easel over here, about to knock everything over. I've already got the hanger on mine. So these are cute. If you don't have anywhere to hang one, I put a lot of my things on easels. I'll set them on tabletops, you know, and a coffee table or piano or anything like that. So a lot of us don't have the wall space for a door hanger on, you know, every 5 feet or a wall hanger. So that's another way to do it. But this is what we're going to paint tonight. I have already gone ahead and stained this one. Now these were, they were lightly, the wood itself looked like it had a light stain on it, but I wanted it stained a little bit darker so that everything would kind of pop on it. So all I did was take burnt umber, and you can use any dark chocolate, doesn't matter, just any real dark chocolate, depending on how light or dark you want it. Water it down a little bit with, get the size of about a quarter on your plate or your egg carton, whatever you use. Add about 2 tablespoons of water to it. You just want it really thin. And then just brush it on. Take a baby wipe and wipe a little bit of it off till you get the consistency that you want. So that's all I've done to it. To that, I did go ahead, we're going to put Let It Snow at the top. Now this one, I just took a marker and Posca pen and wrote it on there with the little wooden snowflake. Tonight we're going to use wooden letters to do that. We're just going to glue them on, and I've already painted those white. The way that I did that, let me get it off here so I can go ahead and show you. I'm going to bring you down right quick. I just taped it sticky side up and then taped each end down, and you guys have seen me do this on other lives. And then I just took a makeup sponge, just like you would put your foundation on, and I just pounced it with white. I did 2 coats, and you don't want to get a lot of paint on it. You want very little paint on it or it'll go off on your edges. So I pounced that all over, got that all nice and white, and the snowflake, after it was dry, I put a little bit of glitter on that snowflake. I don't know if you can see it sparkling or not, but it's got glitter all over it. It shows up really well here. I don't know if it's going to show up in the camera for you, but it's sparkling. So I've just got those sitting aside over here, and we'll put those on here at the end. And you can go back and watch some of my other videos and see how we did that, but that was the really simple way that we did that. The other thing that you will need, which is optional, I use buttons so many times for so many things. On his buttons, I use real buttons. So you'll need some little buttons if you want, or you can just paint them on if you don't have any buttons. So I've got 3 little black buttons here that we'll be putting on. And then I'll show you how to use these once we're finished and we put the hanger on the back. So somebody else on here on Facebook, I don't remember who suggested it, but it was just a brilliant, great idea. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Something on there, let me get that off. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do the sky first, and I'm just gonna go all the way down to the bottom of it because I don't know exactly where my snow is gonna be. So I want to go all the way down to the edge. And y'all, I'm working on something else so cute. I hope it turns out, because if it does, I'm going to paint one with you. But I'm not telling you yet. I know, that's so mean, that's so mean. So I'm going to take, this is Heavy Fog, Anita's Heavy Fog. But any kind of a sky blue, this is a little bit darker than sky blue, but we're going to add a little bit of white to it. So, so that's perfectly fine. Hi, Teresa. We've got a lot on here tonight. Yay. Okay, so the way I do this, I just take a flat brush. Let me grab one of my flat brush. And this one is a Royal Lane nickel, and it is a number, well, it doesn't have a number on it. It's just a 3/4 inch, so it's not quite an inch, but you could get one even a little bigger if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and just dampen my brush a little bit, wipe it off. Okay, I'm going to bring you down. Hi, Mom. For those of you that don't know, Peggy that's on here is my mama. All right, I'll bring you down and show you how I'm just mixing it a little. We've got some storms trying to move in, so hopefully it doesn't knock us off of here before we're done. I just love this color. Love, love, love. Anything blue. And I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of white on here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and paint both sides. And try not to get it over the edges. And I'm going to paint it quickly because I want to add that white in while it's still wet. Now, where the wood slats are right here, I'm going to go just right up to that. Notice how I'm feathering out away from the edge so that I don't get blobs on it. Add just a little bit of water to my brush so I can get this to spread a little easier. And just as we're ready to add that white in, we'll come back up here and get it a little wet because I know it's going to dry a little bit before I get back up there. I think we're under a flash flood watch until tomorrow. Mom and I are supposed to go shopping in the morning, but if it's raining, we'll probably do it another day. So the rain's supposed to be heavy at some points during the day. I don't want to get caught out in that. These are cute little sleds. So much you can do with them. Now you could do it in Christmassy colors and paint the top of it red. You could pretty much do any color scheme you wanted. You could even do buffalo plaid. There were some really cute ones at the retreat that I went to. So many people painted them so many different ways. Now this is a laser cut piece. So the edges are black or super dark brown, but they look black. So if you do get some on the edges, like I got some a little bit right there on the edge, I'll just go back with some black and touch it up. I am going a little faster than I normally would. Now I'm not going to worry about it too much down here at the bottom because that's going to be covered with snow, but I do want up here to be covered. Okay, put another little coat on it here. Get it just good and wet. And then we'll do these two side sections the same way. A little bit there on the edge. I am still loving my Lazy Susan. I did another piece with lemons on it last night for church. I took them the first one, and they wanted another one to go in a different spot, and this sure did come in handy. Okay, I'm going to add just a tad of water. Just so it's good and wet. And then I'm going to take white just on the edge, and I'm going to start working it in just a little bit. And you don't want to cover it in white, you just want to give it a little bit of texture, just to make it look like the blue sky. I just got my brush over that edge a little bit, which it's kind of hard not to do on this. All those little nooks and crannies there. Okay, and I'm just going to keep adding some white and just working it in. It's kind of a snowy sky. You're going to have some places where it's lighter than others. And you do kind of want your streaks to show. You just don't want them to be just really harsh. And no two pieces are going to look the same, you know, exactly the same. I'm going to go down just past this first little section here of where the sled meets. So our snow will come up just about right there. Okay, so I'm just going to blend a little more. This edge is a little better. I'm just kind of patting it on here at the edges. A little hair in it. Okay, I think that looks sky-y enough. Or looks like a sky. There we go. You can do this with even a darker blue for a nighttime effect. Okay, it's just very soft and subtle. Now I'm going to wash that white out. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Now you can see the difference. Here we did not put any white, so it starts there. That will be covered with snow. Okay, now let's do the same thing over here. Get a little more paint. And this is Heavy Fog, Anita's Heavy Fog. Beautiful color, I love it. I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby sometime this week. They've got their paint on sale this week. And I want to load up on it. So we're doing the same thing. We're going to use Snowtex. I don't think I've used that with you before for the snow. I usually just kind of pounce some white paint on. The Snowtex gives it a little bit of a 3D look. And then I usually add some glitter to it. Here we're supposed to have some cooler weather. I kind of suspected that because my hummingbirds are officially gone. You don't want to get it too white when you're adding the white. if you're going to be putting snowflakes, because if you get it too white, then your snowflakes are not going to show. This would be pretty to do a really big one. This one is about 15 inches long. I bought 5 or 6 of them. So I'm probably going to do them a few differently. They won't all be just like this. It's so hard for me, especially Christmas, to not want to keep everything, or at least one of everything that I do. And I don't have room for all of it. Okay, let's start working some white into this one. And just same thing, just kind of zigzagging and then just working it in. Go down just a little lower. Okay, I think that's pretty good on that one. Just a little more up top here. And a little more over here. As it dries, you kind of have to look at it and go back and look at it and see, do I need any more? Okay, so I'm just adding a little more to that middle. Kind of hard for me to see on this with this ring light. Okay, and our snowman's going to go right around in there, so we should be good in there. Okay, so let's do this side now. Standing it up on its chisel edge to get right up to where that piece of wood meets that connects the sled together. You could go back and do those silver if you wanted it like a metal sled or where the metal meets. I chose just to leave it. It's a little hair in it. Just to leave it the wood look. And it drives me crazy with this Lazy Susan because you're going to get paint on it. And I think, oh, I don't want paint all over it. But then I thought, you know, quit fighting it. It's going to get paint on it. And it'll make it look like an artist has been here. So, or a crafter. I don't really call myself an artist, but I don't work real well if my craft room is a mess. I have to have it really organized and cleaned up. And right now, trying to get ready for the craft show next month, it is not as organized as I like. And I've been painting downstairs with all of the, when I was doing the little girls' table and chair set, because they were too big to bring up here. So I thought, well, I've got everything down here. I'll just go ahead and do all that Mod Podging down there. So a lot of my stuff has been down there, and my other stuff up here. So I kind of felt out of sorts. So it's nice to be back in my little spot. All right, let me get a little off of there. Got fuzz or something. I don't know if it was in that bottle or if it was in my brush, but I don't want it there. And again, that'll all be covered up with snow, so it's going to be okay. The wood from underneath here is kind of bleeding through a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of the blue here as well, because I don't want the sled showing through. Okay, let's go in and add our white. We don't get much snow here in Texas. I was watching Ashley Richards. I was watching her live today, and we were talking about that. We don't get much snow here. We love it when we do. Well, most of us. My husband's like, nope, he doesn't care for it. It's about the only way I get to make a snowman is if I paint one. See up here, I'm going to hold it up for just a second so I can see it, because I can't see for that ring light what it's doing. All right, let me get this wet again. Let's get some white in there. And once you get all the details on it, you won't even be able to see if you missed anything. Okay, that looks pretty much like sky. And then we'll put snowflakes in it. Oh, thank you so much, Jan. I hope they sell. Some little girl really enjoys them. Okay, so now let's get back down here. You can, and a lot of times I will just freehand a snowman. But if you're not good at, you know, at doing that, you can just use things around the house. Let me go ahead and dry this real quick. But you can get things around your house to use. So tonight, I thought I would show you how to do that. Or what I do sometimes if I don't feel like drawing it. If it's something that I'm not really good at drawing or freehanding, then I can add a little more white right in here. I'll just get things around the house to help me. Decided I wanted a little more white up here. So, this is a little coaster, I guess you would say, that one of my granddaughters gave me. So it's the perfect size for the bottom half of him, or the bottom third of him. I have my little paint cups that I have sometimes if I'm going to put a kit together and send it off. They have lids for them. So this was a perfect round for his middle section. And then this little cup was the perfect size for his head. So that's what we're going to use tonight. If you can't draw, no worries. You guys know that I search my house all the time for different things to use and to help me. So this one will be pretty precise with a circle, but a lot of times I'll just freehand them and I don't get them in a perfect circle. I like them kind of lumpy sometimes. Okay, so I think we're good on that. So we're just going to decide where we want our little snowman. So I think this bottom part will be just under these little ridges here. So we'll go ahead and trace that on. See if my little chalk pencil will show up. Here's a chalk pencil. Anytime you're on a darker color, you can use a chalk pencil and then it'll just go away once you start painting it. And once you're done, you can wipe it off. Yes, that shows up nicely. Okay, so we've got the next section. And I like to make the belly, I guess you would call it, kind of hang over his bottom section. Like this one. So I've just got him kind of hanging over a little bit here. Okay, so let's bring him just a little down over that bottom part. Ooh, okay, sorry, that was like chalk on a chalk, running your fingernails down a chalkboard. Okay, so we've got the middle, the bottom. Now those are pretty close to the same size. It's a little bit smaller, but they're pretty close to the same size. So I may, with my paintbrush, come out just a little bit. And just barely, I just barely come over that top section with his head. could put a scarf on him. I mean, you can do pretty much whatever you want with embellishments. Okay, and that's going to be covered up with paint. It doesn't really matter, but so we've got our basic, just 3 circles. I will make this a little bit fatter down here. Let's get started on that. Just going to chuck those over there to get them out of our way. Okay, so we've still got some white going here from our sky. So let's go ahead and get our circles in. I might want to use that chalk pencil again. This is a new brush. I've never used it before, so somebody said they were really good, so I'm going to try it. So standing it up on its chisel edge to get that circle. I think I know why this paint feels really, Folk Arts paint, white paint, is so hard to work with. It's real thick, very chalky, and I just don't care for it. And I grabbed it by mistake. So I got the Folk Art white. My favorite white to work with is the Ceramic Coat. So I'm going to switch to it. You can just tell even by shaking it. It's not near as thick, but it's not near as thin as Apple Barrel's white. I'm going to switch brushes here. Oh, much, much smoother. Okay, now remember we're going to go outside of those lines a little bit because we wanted it to be a little bit larger. See how much smoother that goes on? And I'm just really pushing my brush down flat to go outside that circle. Because I want the bottom part to be bigger than the middle. Okay, and then just fill it in. Here, my hubby just got home. He took his motorcycle out to ride it just a little bit. If you don't start it and ride it every now and then, it freezes up. Okay, I'm not going to worry about this down here too much because snow's going to be over it. But I did need to come down over this with this belly. So let's go ahead and get that done. And I kind of just make a little ridge where his belly comes down over, holding it straight up and just fanning it out to make that circle. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the top so we can come over his belly. Now what I'm doing out here is getting a little bit of the paint off my brush. Ashley Richards with Oh So Darling. That's her page. She painted a really cute snowman today in the prettiest colors. They were kind of pastel. It was really cute. You'll have to go check out her page and see that. And she put pictures of it on her page. She was using the tulip glitter today, and I don't know if she's ever used it before, but I don't think she had, but she really did like it. Okay, and of course it will take a second coat. And I'm just going to come right under where that head comes over. Okay, so let's dry that right quick. I'm getting drink. My mouth is getting dry. My granddog went home, so it's been very quiet around here today. I like this tool, this heat gun, because for lives, because it is so quiet that you can still hear me, but I like my hair dryer better when I'm not doing live, because my hair dryer has a cool button that you can push that just puts out cool air to cool it down, because you don't want to paint on hot paint. You want to let it cool for just a second before you do that. It'll sometimes cause your paint to bubble. Okay, so we're just going to go right over and put a second coat on them. I'm going to start up at the top this time. Right, just barely over that belly. Okay, same thing on this one. We'll go down on the bottom of that, over the bottom part. Kind of doing it in a circular motion just to give that circular effect of the snowman. And then when we shade it, you'll be able to see the different sections. I may have already told you this, but I ended up with almost 50 Mod Podged projects for the craft show. Did a little chicken box, did several of those chunky canvases. I've got 3 or 4 clipboards. And I think that's everything that I Mod Podged. Now, if I were doing a moon, see how you can see, and I'll go over and do another coat on this, but see how you can kind of see those, some darker spots in, I don't know if you can see it, but it's not covered completely, and there's some darker shadows of the paint underneath. That looks wonderful for a moon, if you were doing a moon. I got a little bit right there, but we're going to go around and shade him, so it's not gonna matter. But I had some on my finger and got it even further out. Turn him around a little bit. So proud of myself because I had supper. Usually my husband, Mr. David, he will fix, he likes to eat breakfast one night a week for supper. So usually on Tuesday nights, he fixes himself breakfast. And then I'll just eat some little something when I finish my live. But he wasn't going to have time to fix his breakfast tonight. He had a meeting scheduled. So I got so much done today. And I fixed meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and black-eyed peas. And then we had some rolls. So he's got a feast tonight. All right, I'm going to touch that little spot of white up there. And then just kind of work it back in here. It's hard to know where to stop with it. I could just keep going and blending and blending and blending. I think we're good there. Okay, I'm going to dry and put one more coat on it because I can still see that blue. Blue is shining through. Hi, Vicky. Yours is still sitting on the side until you get an idea. Well, good. I thought it would be also cute in buffalo plaid, any color. I mean, you could do it in buffalo plaid black and reds, or wintry colors. I thought it would be cute with, we're going to do trees tonight, but you could do the snowman in the middle, and then maybe a little little penguin and gingerbread man on the sides, or a couple of little bear cubs. I mean, you could just go to town with it. Okay, I think that's good enough. Well, the sleds are so nicely cut. I mean, I really do like her laser cutter. Okay, so let's get this last coat on here. And on honestly, by the time you get all the details on it, it's not even going to show that much anyway. I've got so many projects going on at once. While one's drying, I'll work on the next one. So I hope I don't end up with a lot of unfinished projects. I've got so many going. Okay, I think that got him good, and his little hat's going to go up there, so that's not really going to matter if it's coming through or not, but I think it looks pretty good. All right, we're good there. Okay, let's go ahead and do his face and his hat. I'm going to use that chalk pencil again to kind of, well, actually I'm going to use a pencil because so it'll show on the white here. There's so many different ways you can also do the hat. We're just going to do kind of a floppy hat. Okay, so we're going to do the little floppy hat and do with my pencil. Stuck it back in there. Okay, so really, I'm just going to freehand it here. So you're going to want the top of his hat, and we're just going to go straight across. We're going to be using black, so it doesn't matter how dark the pencil marks are. Going to curve it in and out to the side. Curve it in, out to the side. Now we could just come right around and do just a simple curve, but I'm going to make this one just kind of a floppy. So we're just going to give it some scalloped edges. Going to kind of look like a lampshade. So I went out there just a little bit too far. And then back around. Okay, so we're going to take some black. This is Anita's black, but any black will do. Doesn't take much. And let's go ahead and get, see what I want to do that with. I think a little round brush. I'll get it outlined first and then fill it in. So I'm going to use a little liner brush to kind of outline it, and then I'll fill it in with this tiny little bitty flat brush. So I'm just loading this round, and we're just going to kind of get it outlined, and then we'll fill it in. Now I do want to go ahead and make where my little hat band's going to go, because I don't want to get black on that. It'd be a little bit harder to cover with red. Okay, and I'm going to come up here and make his hat just a little bit taller. Okay, I'm going to fill that hat band in with some white. Let it be drying. That red will cover better. You could paint a bird sitting on top of his hat. I've done one before where I had a little mouse sitting on the top of it. I've painted one just like this, and then I had a little bear looking out from behind him. The bear was building the snowman. So lots of different little things that you can do. Sometimes I will draw like a stack of snowballs beside them. This one's got a lot of details, so it's probably going to be a little bit later than I normally am on here. That brush is splitting everywhere. But we're going to outline it in black, so that's good. All good. Okay, so we'll let that be drying. And let's work on the black. Just going to outline it. We're going to go all the way up here since I extended a little bit. I just find it easier on little things, small things like this, to just outline it and then fill it in. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all why I've got Band-Aids on both arms. Mila, my grandpuppy dog, we got home the other night. We'd gone out to eat, and she was so excited when we got home that she jumped up to greet me. In her little claws, well, not little claws, got both arms, and they bled and bled and bled. And now they're all bruised, so I thought I would spare you that and throw some Band-Aids on. Now this Anita's black is pretty thick, so I am adding a little bit of water to my brush after every few strokes. Okay, so let's outline the little scallops. Okay, and I'm going to outline on each side of the band. And then we'll fill it in with red. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to that little fan keeps blowing the napkin away, to that little tiny flat brush. It's a size 2. It's Velvet Touch, so it's their size 2. And don't forget, every company, their sizing is different. Okay, so now we're gonna just fill in. My husband and I took a trip to Bermuda one time. Spent a week in Bermuda. It was through his work. He had won an award, and it was an all-expense-paid trip to Bermuda, or we would not have gone otherwise. But I visited the elementary school there. At the time, I worked for the elementary school here, and I just am always fascinated by kids and just love being around kids. And so I asked the principal there I don't remember what, I don't think they called it a principal. I don't remember what they called it, but if I could visit with the children and tell them a little bit about where we lived, and that I just wanted to meet them. They were adorable, and I'm sitting there. Their view outside their window, their classroom window, was the ocean. You could see dolphin jumping around, and they said they usually, I didn't see one the day I was there, but said you can usually look out and see the whale in their water spouts, and every now and then you'll see one jump up, and they were like, oh, whatever, just tell us about snow. I mean, I was fascinated with that, and they were like, oh, that's everyday stuff. We want to know what snow is like. Does it have a smell to it? What does it feel like? Does it taste like anything? They just, they never in their lives seen snow, and most of them will never get off that island, and they will never see snow. And they were just so fascinated. That's all they wanted to talk about. So I told them everything I knew about it and how there's different snows. Sometimes we get a wet snow and we can make a snowman, build things with it. Sometimes it's just a dry snow that blows around. Some places, I told them that they get it where it's as tall as their house. Sometimes the snow drifts, and they were just so fascinated. So that was my favorite part of the whole trip, was getting to meet with the kids and talk to them about it. Okay, let me smooth that out just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to dry it. It's going to need a second little coat. And then we'll put that red in. It's the only spot on this that we have red. Tried to get my iPad to work tonight so that I could see your comments while I'm painting. I could not get it to cooperate. Now this one I sprayed, when I finished the other one, I spray varnished it. Sometimes if I know it's not going to go outside, I will just Mod Podge it. Okay, I think that's got it covered up pretty good. Now let's see, I'm going to use Anita's True Red over the band. And it will definitely take a couple of coats on that. Every little detail adds to it so much. I'm like a kid with a new toy with this Lazy Susan. I am loving it. I may be making y'all seasick. It sure makes it easier on certain things. should have gone all the way to the edge with that red. Then we'll put some little white crisscrosses. You could put a toboggan on him. He really doesn't even have to have a hat. All right, we're going to put one more coat of that red. Okay, and then let's go ahead, since we've got white, you could even put polka dots, plaid. You really don't even have to put anything on the band of it. But we will go ahead and do that since we've got some white out. Have to add just a little bit of water to it. Alright, so I'm going to start up here at the corner of the hat, and we're going to go down. We're just going to make X's. Whoops, too much water. Pull a little of that off. I'm going to switch brushes. I forgot, that's the brush that's splitting on me. I've got a little bit better one here. Velvet touch when brushes are bad about, so I'm switching to a small, very small little liner brush. They're bad about splitting. Okay, so we're going to go down. And then come right back and make an X. So where that bottom X came down, you're going to meet right there. Go up. And then start at the top of the the top of that stroke. Go down. And they don't have to be perfect at all. I'm not putting much pressure at all. Typically, if it were a larger item, I would shade inside the red with a little bit darker red. But for time's sake tonight, and since it's so tiny, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so it just gives a little bit of an effect on that hat band. Again, you could do little polka dots. You could do anything with it. So while we've got our black and white, let's go ahead and do, I think I'm going to hold off on the face because I do want to go ahead and do the trees with you before it gets too late here. So for the tree, I'm just going to take, I'm going to take my flat brush, my number rolling nickel to 3/4. Nope, this is a number 10. It's not 3/4. So we're going to get some of that dark chocolate, Deco Art dark chocolate. Let's go ahead and get our trees placed. Now you could draw them out if you wanted to. We can go ahead and do that. We could just draw them out with our chalk pencil or with a pencil. So I'm going to start down here where I know that the snow is going to cover it. Now you can make them straight up. You could put Christmas trees on each side, but we're just going to do some pines. Curving them around. Just start about the same spot over here. Now that's a little bit, I want it a little bit thinner at the top. Oops. That baby wipes dry. I was using it earlier this afternoon too, so it's been out for a little while. Okay, so I want it to kind of start big at the bottom and be a little thinner at the top. There we go. Okay, then we're going to have them coming right over to the middle. Squeaky, squeaky. Okay, so let's get our brown. And we're just going to fill that in. I'm going to chisel edge. Chisel edge just means you're standing it straight up and down. And filling it in. And remember, this bottom part here is going to be covered in snow. Bringing that paint back down, filling it in. You could mix in a little bit lighter brown with it too and give it a little bit of texture, but for time's sake tonight, we're just going to go with this. I don't want it perfect. I want it, you know, maybe fatter in some places than it is in others. Brush is getting hard to hold. I'm going to thin that up a little bit. Okay, and I'm not even going to completely fill it in. Just have it kind of grainy looking. Okay, we're doing the same thing on this side. I'm going to thin this one up just a little bit. It's just a lot fatter than that one, so I'm going to start right here. Fill it in. And since it was a chalk pencil that we used, we can just wipe it off here in a minute. arm and some of that brown. Okay, we're just going to hang it over. You could take a liner brush if you wanted to and get it a little more precise. Okay, so just kind of smoothing out those ridges. Okay, so we've got our trunks of the tree. Go over this one just a little more. I love the sound of wind blowing through pine trees. Okay, so let's stop there with the trunks. Now using that same color, we're going to make some branches that are going to be coming out. And he needs some arms. So while we've got that brown out, we'll go ahead and give him some arms. Not sure what my husband's doing down there. It sounds like he's rearranging the furniture. He's not, but what he's doing. Okay, so it's got some hands and arms. And we're going to do the same thing on our trees and just have some different branches coming out here and there. And then we'll fill them in with some pine needles. And I'm coming over into the middle. Now we still have a lot of things to do on his hat and his face. If it starts getting too late, we'll do a part 2 tomorrow. There's not really any rhyme or reason to this. kind of add them where you think you need kind of to fill in. Right now it just looks like a dead tree, but we'll get there. Let's put some glue up here so we can kind of balance it out. Okay, I think that's enough for now. We may add some back in here in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and do some of the needles. I'm going to start with a darker green. How's our dark green? I always put my darkest foliage down first. Using a little liner brush. And we're just going to start flicking some pine needles on. I got to be sure and not put them on his hands, although you could, but I don't want them there tonight. So I'm just flicking in a flicking motion, not putting just barely any pressure. I'll have some of them crisscrossing each other, just like pine needles would do, and then we'll come back in with some little bit lighter color. Okay, see how I've got the branches, the needles crossing each other from different branches. So you go ahead and do the branch underneath it, just like you would if there wasn't another one there. And then they're just going to naturally crisscross. So I've got some going out that branch. Now I need to come and do this branch. So it's going to go right over. And I do get my paint kind of thin with water to do this. Now you could also use a little scruffy brush to give it more of a Douglas fir look and just flick it out. Just play around with different brushes and see what what you get, the effect you like. Just do it on like poster board. Okay, let's do these little branches down here. I am watering my paint down just a little bit as I go. some people think this is pretty tedious and that may not want to spend the time to do it, but I just think it adds so much to it. Got some going out, some going up, some going backwards. You could even put little pine cones in it. I have never painted a pine cone. I need to watch a tutorial on how to do pine cones. I've just never even seen one painted. Pressing down a little harder on some than I am others to give it, just to give it a different effect. Okay, we've almost got this little tree done. Now with a brush this tiny, you do have to load and reload your brush. I just think a larger one would not give it the right effect. So I can tell when it, really when it's starting to run out of paint. And you want to reload when you start hearing that scratchy sound. And I'm just going to go right over the branch of that next tree. And they're just going to kind of meet in the middle. And then we're going to add the lighter color. Okay, let's do these little branches here. Okay, that little branch is coming out a little bit different direction. Okay, so that's enough on that one. Let me go ahead and we're going to add some Hauser light green into it. Hauser light green. Twirling it out. Now you won't put as much of this color. It just represents like new growth, new pine needles, and just gives it a little bit of dimension. So you just want a little hint of it here and there. You don't want to cover up the needles that you just did. This just gives some a little bit more life into it. And then we will come in, when we do the snow, we'll put a little bit of snow on the branches, like on this one that I did. So I've got just a little bit of snow on the branches there. Okay, let's go ahead and get our leaves on this one, our needles. So same thing, let's go ahead and I'm going to start up the top so I'm not rubbing my hand across wet paint. I love pine trees. I wouldn't want them all over my yard, I don't think, because of the pine needles. Maybe there's a special way that you take care of and get rid of them. I don't know how you would have grass with the pine needles if they were just right in your yard. This seems really tedious, but it's so relaxing. I just almost hear the needles blowing in the wind. I know I'm probably going to put my brush in the wrong plate, in the wrong spot on my plate here in a minute. I almost did a minute ago. And just a little more water. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit faster now because you've got the gist of it. Okay, they look a little heavier on this side, so I'm going to make some of these a little bit longer here. Okay, let's do these up here. And we're getting close to being done with these trees, except for the snow later. If you wanted to really get detailed, you could go in and shade your tree, your trunks a little darker. In here, I may go in and add a few little dark marks in it so that it's not just such a flat brown. I think I did on the other one. Yes, I did. Just so it gives it a little bit of a barky look. Okay, last little branches here. And we'll look at it to see if it's kind of balanced out. You don't want it to be exact, but you don't want tons over here and very few over. You don't want it to look lopsided. I've had to put my blinders on lately when it comes to getting napkins to Mod Podge. I've just been enjoying it so much. But I thought, okay, at least for this season, I don't need any more napkins. But if I see some that goes on sale that are Christmassy, I will more than likely be grabbing some more. Okay, let me take a look at it here. Let me add just a few more here. Okay, let's go in with that lighter green. And it's much faster because you don't put near as much on it. And I didn't do his arms. Yay! I'm so proud of myself. Okay, I'm going to add a few more here on those that we just added in. I'm kind of just putting them in between the needles that we just did. Just want a little hint of it. And then when you get the snow on the branches, it really adds to it. All right, let's look at it. I think I need one more right there to kind of even it out. Let me dry that little sprig right quick. There's also it's called a black forest green that's a lot darker. That also is pretty for pine needles. And then you go in with 3 different colors. The dark green, and then this green, and then the light green. And it gives it an even more 3D effect. Okay, so I'm just dipping right into that lighter green. Okay, we're going to stop with the branches. Okay, we're going to work for a few more minutes here because we still got a lot of detailing to do on this one. Hi, Karen. Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much. I might go about 30 more minutes or so. I understand if y'all need to go on to bed. I totally understand. But let's go ahead and I'm going to get a little bit darker brown and put... this is burnt umber, and it's a little bit darker, just to put some little bark in here. Let's see if it's dark enough or if I need to add a little bit of black to it. No, that's dark enough. Let me bring it down. Just going to add a little bit of just some darker lines here, just to make it look barky, if that's a word. Just to give it some texture. Even on the branches. I'm just putting them in random spots. Same thing on this one. Saw a squirrel going across our backyard today. I know they're getting ready for the cooler weather, storing things up for the winter, but he didn't just have a pecan in his mouth. He had a branch about like this, and it looked like it had 4 or 5 pecans on it. It was all he could do to run with it in his mouth, but he was determined that he was going to get it to his nest or wherever he was going. But it was so cute seeing him so determined to carry that thing that was almost as big as he was. I first thought it was a little squirrel in its mouth, and then thought, no, that's the wrong time of year for that. And then the closer I looked, I could tell that it was a big old branch loaded with pecans. They were still in their the green shell. He just looked like he had a little happy smile on his face, like he had hit the treasure. Okay, enough of that. Okay, I'm going to wipe that chalk line off, so I made the tree a little skinnier. And it's gone. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to do the snowflakes last because they have the little dots everywhere. And I would get them all over my arms. All right, let's try to think what I want to do next. Okay, I do need to outline him in a darker blue. So let me grab a let's use ultra blue. Just want to kind of shade around him a little bit. Won't take much. Okay, I'm just getting my brush a little wet. And I don't have that mottled color. Typically I would say put some base coat on there on your brush, but I don't have a base coat, just a solid base coat. So I'm just going to put a little bit on, getting my brush a little damp, and just going to put a little bit on the in a little triangle on the very edge of the brush and see if we can work it in that way. And we're just going to blend it out. I made a mess of that, got it all over the white. Had a little bit too much water in my brush. There we go. I didn't shake that up good either, and it's all oil. That's why it went everywhere. I'm going to start me a new little spot over here. Okay, now this down here is going to be covered up with snow, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so I'm putting it on and then kind of just taking it off. Just kind of sets it apart. I'm going to go with a little bit smaller flat brush though. Alright, so I've downsized to a little bit smaller. Just want to work it out until it has a soft, I'll have to go back over that white just a little bit. Just a very soft, blend it out. Get it off that white. Yeah, much better, not near as harsh. Looks wintry. Okay, I'm not carrying that under there because we're going to have snow all over it. Okay, we need to do up around his head. I'm just grabbing the wrong brushes tonight. The bristles are splitting on me. That's the way that little liner brush was doing. Okay, let's do the other side. Oops. I don't want it on that white. Look at those bristles. And I've already started with it, so try to finish up with it. I think we're gonna make it. I better hush, I'm not to the bottom yet. I'll jinx it. I think shading just really adds to any painting that you're doing. Okay, I'm really pressing down just to kind of give it a more shaded look. It is a little bit harder doing it this way because you don't have a base coat on here to blend it out into. Typically I would have that on the brush. Now I know the snow is going to be down here, but I'm going to use it to kind of help me blend it out, blend it up. Makes him look wintry, cold. Okay. Let's go ahead and put, we're just going to put snow on the branches up here with the brush. We'll do snow tech down here, but we're just going to add a little bit on there. Let me get a good brush here to do that with. All right, this one's kind of a little bit of a scruffy, so we're just going to put some snow on the tip of it. And that's just going to be our white paint. Some of it's kind of dried out a little bit, and that's that folk art. So it is thicker, which for this will work out great. Okay, so we're just going to put some on the branches where they're bending over. We'll put some here on his hat, and I'm just going to dab it on here. Maybe some on his scarf here. Just, you don't want it really on every branch, but just here and there. Let's put some on this one here. Okay, so look at the difference in this side with the snow and this side without the snow. Look what a difference just that one little effect made. Somebody's texting me. Let me get that out of the way. See, it just takes little details here and there. So I'm just gonna, and my brush is not wet. I did not wet it. It's dry. And we're going to put just a little bit here on his little hands. And I am just barely touching it. Okay, now let's do our tree here. It also helps define where the branches are. Some of them it's hard to decide which side of the branch to put them on. Okay, I think that should be enough. It's another thing that it's hard to know where to stop. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shade gray inside his little body. Don't think I grabbed any gray. Oops, that one hasn't been opened. Let me grab another one. I don't want to go too dark. This is Gray Sky Americana. All right, so put just a little dot beside the white. And this will define his body. Okay, so this is the base coat's white on this, so I can go ahead and get my brush loaded with some white to kind of help me with that blending. Just going to dip in the very tip. Okay, and then his head's going to come down just a little bit over that belly, and then just blend it back in. Let's go ahead and go under the hat just a little bit. under each scallop. We'll have to touch it up a little bit with the black. Okay, let me touch it up just a little bit with that black. Brush just touched over just a little bit up on the black, so just putting those scallops back in. I guess that's what you call them, scallops. Okay, so now we have his head defined. Let's go ahead and do the rest of his body. Just reloading that brush. Some water off the ferrule. Really blending it in. Okay, now we've got his belly defined. Just need to do the other side of him. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this down here because only part of him, the bottom half, is going to be under Snow. Now, if our background was not blue, I would more than likely do this shading inside of him with kind of an icy blue. I'm not worried about that because it's, again, going to be under the snow. Okay, so we've got him defined. And then when we get his little black buttons on him, he's gonna be adorable. Okay, let's go ahead and do the face. Keep telling myself I need to quit, but I want to get him done. All right, let's put his little eyes and nose. And we'll probably come up here and do some little maybe some details in that. Not sure on that yet. I'm going to go ahead and do the base for the snow because I am going to do it in white. But then I'll come over it with the Snow Tech. But before all my white dries up, I want to go ahead and get it base coated in the white to define where the snow is going to go. And I don't want it just all the same, just straight across. Now, if you did not have Snow Tech, this would be a good way to add your snow. You could put a little bit of gray in with it. I'm just pouncing it on, that gives it some texture. And then you could add some glitter to it. The Snow Tech gives, I mean, it's really thick, super thick. And it will have ridges. Okay, I'm not going to get it down on this part. Okay, let's do the other side. So again, this is just giving it a base for that Snow Tech that we'll be using. No, Snow Techs. I keep saying tech, but it's Techs. Getting a little bit down on that wood. Okay, so we've got our base laid for that. Alrighty, ladies. I think that we will finish this up tomorrow as a part 2. It is nearly 9 o'clock. Do you want me to go ahead and do the face, or would you rather wait until tomorrow to do that? Because I know it's getting late for you guys. I know some of you got to work and go to school and whatever. But I don't mind doing the face right quick. If you would like for me to do the face, it'll take a few minutes to do that. Or we can wait, and that's where we can start tomorrow. Sometime, not this late tomorrow, it'll be sometime during the day tomorrow. So you would have to watch part 1 and then part 2. So tell me what you would like for me to do. I think we've still just got, we've just got like 3 on here now because it is getting late. But here's what we've got so far. Now see how doing that blue around him just kind of makes him stand out a little bit, and I'll probably soften it just a little more too. And that snow is flat, but with the Snow Techs, Snowtex is really, really, I mean, it's like plaster kind of. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very, very, very thick. You just have to kind of just take an old brush and dab it on. You don't want to use one of your good brushes with it. Let's see with my little, let's see if we can at least go ahead and get his nose drawn out here and get his little eyes drawn on. So center be about right there. And you just do kind of a crooked sideways V. And then come to a point for his nose and mouth. Okay, let's put an eye. Right here. I have to turn it upside down to do the other one. Okay, so there's his little face outline. So I've got some blackouts. I'm going to go ahead and do let me draw. I need to sharpen that little pencil. Let's go ahead and fill his eye in here. We're going to have him looking off to the side instead of straight on. So I've got a tiny, tiny little liner brush. Add some water to my black. Okay, let's go ahead and do the underneath eye. Little cheek, I guess. And then we'll fill in the eyeball. I'll take a couple of coats on it. Yeah, let's go ahead and outline around it. Alright, same thing on this one. I had to look at which direction I had them going. Okay, so he's looking off this direction. Okay, let me dry those real quick. Let me look at them right side up. I'm going to need a little more white on this one. I covered it up just a little too much. Tiny little eyes are not so easy. Okay, now second coat of black. Because I can see the white underneath it. All right, now we need to do some eyebrows. And some tiny little eyelashes. All right, let's do some eyelashes up top. I have to kind of not breathe when I'm doing something this tiny. So I do a long one, a short one, a long one, and a short one. I kind of curve them. Okay. Now we could stop right there with the eyes, but he needs some little dots in his eyes to bring him to life. So you could use the end of your pencil. I'm going to use a tiny little daughter, not daughter. So I'm going to use this, the smallest I have of the daughter, and we're going to give him some irises. And since he's looking off this way, we'll put one right up top here. Now, look how those tiny little dots in his eyes made the difference. 2 little dots brought him to life. Okay, I'm going to use Anita's pumpkin orange for his nose. But before we do the nose, let's go ahead and get the mouth done before my black dries up. So I want to be careful and not go across those little dots that I just put on there. Okay, so we're going to do the smile line, I guess is what you call it. And I'm just barely putting any pressure. moisture on it. Sounds like that wind is picking up out there. Okay, and then we'll just fill it in with a little bit bigger brush. Just going to go back to, it's not really a liner, it's just a small round to fill that in easier. Now I did this much faster at the retreat when I did the first one, but I wasn't instructing. I was just sitting there painting. So that makes it, does make a difference, because I did the first one in about an hour and a half, and I had it done, maybe not even that long. We were talking while we were all painting. All right, one more coat of black in the mouth. Okay, and we need a little tongue. It's got to have a tongue. You could also do a side mouth that makes him really cute. So another way you can do to raise the mouth up here just a little bit to make it look like a kind of like a child. Okay, my red is still wet enough, so let's just go ahead and do a tiny little tongue. And I just do kind of an M. And then just fill it in. I sometimes put white first. Honestly, I just didn't think about it this time, but I think it'll still show up okay. I might have to just put a couple of coats over it. Yeah, I think it shows up enough. Okay, let's go ahead and outline his little carrot nose. And that is Anita's Pumpkin Orange. And then we'll shade it a little bit with a darker orange. I'll put a second coat on it here, just a second to kind of cover up those pencil marks. Now it is cute too to do a longer nose kind of sticking out with a little bird or butterfly or something sitting on it. Little red bird singing is what I do sometimes. Let's get a second coat on here. And then we'll get some details on it. I was thinking of price-wise, because these are going in the craft show, $25. I thought, oh, is that too much? Is it too much? But then when you see how much work goes into them, you think, no, that's really not. By the time you pay for your piece itself, and then the paint that goes into it, but then your time that goes into it, I don't think that's too much. Okay, now I'm switching to the burnt orange, just to give some details, and I've got enough that's splattered out there that I'll just use that, and we'll see if it's dark enough. If that's not dark enough, we'll go to some of the brown. Okay, that gave it a little shading, but I am going to go to the brown for the little lines in the carrot. Okay, and let's put a little bit of snow on his nose. And I'm going to see if I can do it with this little brush that I'm using. If I can just dab it on with it. And I'm going to put a couple of little highlights. And that tongue. And I'm going to put just a little bit of pink under the cheeks and on the smile lines. And I'm going to do that by just going to go ahead and mix some red and white. We're not going to need much at all. I want it very pale. Okay, I think that's the right consistency. Typically I would shade or float with a little bit on my flat brush like we did with this one, but this is such a tiny, tiny spot. I'm just going to put it on this little brush and just put a little bit under there just to give it a little bit of a cheekbone effect. And we'll put some in these smile lines. Okay, let's go ahead and, honestly, you guys, all we like are the snowflakes and putting the word on. I'm going to go for it. That way we won't have two videos. So let me grab my other liner. We can use, see where it went. I still haven't unloaded all of my stuff from using it downstairs. All right, we'll try this one. I don't see my other one. I was going to have everything unloaded and ready, but I got busy. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to put his buttons on last with the words, but let's go ahead and add some snowflakes. So that's when it really comes to life. So we need some white. Now you could do this with a paint pen as well, but it's just as fast to just get them on there. So you'll have some small ones and some big ones. So I made an X or a T, and now I'm making an X. And then we'll go back and put the little dots on them. Okay, let's put one. You don't even have to put dots on them, but I like them better. And that paint out just a little bit. This is the longest live I've done in a long time. You're just doing a T and then an X, making sure your middles meet. And I'm letting it cross over that tree a little bit. I typically make the longest, the one going straight down, I usually make it a little bit longer. Right now they kind of look like stars. Some of the baby white fuzz was on there. This is another one that it's hard to know where to stop with them, how many. I'm going to turn it around just a little bit to do some up here. They look pretty on this blue. Ran out of paint on that one. Anybody else but me, night owls? I can take a little power nap and I can be ready to go for the rest of the night, which I know is not always good. All right, I'm going to put one here. Just kind of scoping it out. See where else we need one. One more here, and I think we can start dotting it. Let's put one more right up here. All right, let's put some dots on them. And then we'll add our words and our buttons. Wrong end. Whoops. Ooh. About made a mess. Okay, so I put a dot in the center and at the end of each snowflake. So many different ways that you can do snowflakes. This is one of the easiest that I know. Always miss one. So y'all be my eyes for me. If you see one in a minute here that I missed, let me know. I think it adds so much to it putting the dots. Now if you don't have one of these dotters, you could do this with the end of a pencil, or if you have a small paintbrush, you could do it you know, with the end of your paintbrush. Just remember that it takes these a little longer to dry, and you don't want to run your arm across them while they're wet. And you have to be really careful drying them with a hair dryer, because they are deep and they will splatter everywhere. dipping in about every 3 or 4 dots to reload it. They have these at Hobby Lobby that come in a package of 3, so you get 6 different size dots. And they have them now at Dollar Tree, but there's just 1 in a package. So you get 2 different sizes of dots. Almost done with these. And all we lack are putting his buttons and the words on. And putting that snow tech on. Which doesn't take long at all. Now what I would probably do if I did all of them the same for the craft show, I would do probably 3 or 4 of them at a time. And in the time that it took me to do this one on the tutorial, I could probably have 3 of them done by batch painting them. I will also go in and clean up where that blue got on there. Here in the little wood in between. Okay, do you see any snowflakes that I missed? Yes, I see 2 right here. And I am kind of dipping, scooping to kind of get a little dripping off on that is how I'm getting the good dots. Okay, now I think that's all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put the words on and his buttons. Okay, now the last one, remember that I did it with just a marker. I do also need to put the dots here. I actually painted the wrong side of this one. I can't show you right now because the dots are wet, but on the other side are little markings for, like would be the screws, which I can put in here. I didn't notice till just a few minutes ago that I had done the wrong side. So, there you go. But, I mean, it still looks the same either way, and I'll add those little dots. I'm going to use, typically I used E6000, but I'm almost out of it, of a good bottle where it'll come out of. So I'm going to use this, it's called Stick Fast, and it does stick fast, very fast. This is the thick, the CA thick. You have got just a couple of seconds to get your piece where you want it, because I mean it dries super duper fast. So let's go ahead and get his buttons. I'm going to put a little pencil mark where I want them. Oop, gotta be careful. I don't want to get my hands in the dots. Okay, so I want one right there. right about there. Okay, and it doesn't take a lot. It's already done. Well, that one's not wanting to stay put. Yeah, it caught. These buttons are curved, so it's a little hard for it to catch on it. And you do not want to get it on your fingers. Okay, so I'll let that one sit right there. Once, see, I was going to move it. Once it catches, that's it. It's done. You don't move it anywhere. Let's see if I got it. Yeah, that looks okay. Nope, it's not going anywhere. It's going to move it up just a tad, but it's done. That's how quick it sets. Okay, so, well, I may as well leave it open because we're going to get our words on. So I painted these earlier. Aren't you glad? We'll be on here till midnight. Okay, then I am going to paint the little nail heads, or what, I don't know really what you would call them. Paint's getting a little dry. On the back side, it's got them right here, 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 and here, and here. But since I did the wrong side, we're just going to do them on the top part. Okay, let me do it on this other one. Thought I saw some lightning out there a minute ago. Sound like a little bit of thunder. It must not be close enough yet to really boom. All right, let's try that and get our letters on. These letters are much larger than when I did it with the marker. So I have to place them a little more carefully. Got a spot here that was coming through. A mess over here. Look at all the paintbrushes that I've pulled out. All right. Let's kind of start with W and go backwards. I don't know if you can see that sparkling very pretty. Now these are just a tad too tall. I mean, they're just barely coming over the edges. Kind of get those a little more centered. Once I put them on the E6000, you can kind of move them around a few minutes until you get them exactly like you want them. But with this glue, there is no moving them around. Once it's down, it's down. All right, let me flip it around and tell me what you think. Does that look centered enough? They're both just barely touching the black nail heads, so they're kind of even there. Does it look okay? Thank you, Jan. Hi, Laura. Thank you so much. All right, we really are just about done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and put the letters on. This is always scary. All right, I'm going to get the W. You have to be so careful and not get it on your fingers, and I don't want it dripping on the sled. I don't know if there's anything that would help you get it if you got your fingers stuck, because I mean it warns you and it is so sticky. Do the O. These little snowflakes came. There's all different shapes that came in a box from Hobby Lobby. I think there were, 50 or more to a box. So I got 2 boxes. Okay, we got the W and the O. Let's see if I can do it upside down. Oops. So I'm not having to reach over it. I'm very chicken with this glue, so I'm trying to be careful with it. Oops, had some paint on my finger that came off on that. I'll have to touch it up with some white. Okay, now the S. Okay, we're halfway done with that. Y'all, I turn into a pumpkin after 10 o'clock, so fair warning. Alright, it's getting a little easier now. So we've got them all spaced. Anybody else on here started your Christmas shopping yet? Got a little bit of mine done. I've been teasing them. I said, if all this stuff doesn't sell at the craft show, y'all know what you're getting for Christmas. Lots of crafts. Let's get that one over just a little bit. E and L. May not be exactly perfectly centered, but it's pretty close. And my hopes, I think they will be focused on the little snowman. Okay, y'all, I'm getting pretty sticky here. Yay, last one. My fingers were starting to stick together. It scares me. Pretty powerful stuff. I'll have to see if hand sanitizer will get it off. Alright, there's that. Alright, I'm going to rub some hand sanitizer on here and see if that will kind of get it off before it sticks all over me. Okay, let's add our snow text. And it will have to dry overnight pretty much. It takes it a little while, but we're going to go ahead and put it on. So let me get a scruffy little brush here. Got this at Hobby Lobby. It was $4.99, but I think they were still giving coupons at that time, and I got it for 40% off. So I'm just going to take my dry brush, and you just have to mix it up a little bit. It's kind of like those the kids' foam. And you just start dabbing it on. See how thick it is? I do my brush all different ways so it doesn't look exactly the same. So it's a little pricey. I don't know if Walmart has it. Walmart may have it cheaper. But it sure gives a cute effect. I don't have any sprinkle glitter. I just have some bottled glitter paint. It dries real hard, and then you could just spray it, spray seal it. Okay, so look at the difference. Oops. And I haven't put any here yet. And it's got a little bit of a shine to it. Let's go ahead and do this one, and then we'll put some glitter in it. And we'll call this baby done. But I do want to show you how I put the hanger on. My hangers now. I'm going to scrape as much as I can back in there. And this just cleans up with soap and water. Okay, I'm going to use the Twinkle Glitter. I'm just going to pour some here and there. Typically I would just brush it on, but I'm going to put it on here and just dab it on. And it doesn't have to be all over it in every spot, just enough to give you some glitter effect. Put a little bit of glitter up here on the branches, just here and there. Some on his hat. All right, I'm washing that brush out really well, and then I'll wash it again with some warm soapy water. But I am going to put just a little bit of glitter on him, on the snowman himself. But first I'm going to put some glitter grabber, Deco Art glitter grabber. You put that on first, and it really makes sure pulls the glitter out of the glitter paint. So I'm just going to put a little around the sides of him. And then we'll put a little bit of the glitter paint. And then other than sealing him and putting the hanger on, he is done. About time, huh? A little more right down here. I hope y'all cannot hear my stomach growling. Okay, I decided to go all the way around with it. Okay, I think I heard some thunder that time. can't believe it. We've still got 4 people on here. You guys are awesome, sticking with me through this. Okay, let's hold it up here. I don't know if you can see him sparkling, but he's just enough glittery that it looks like snow shimmering. I know it's backwards for you, but it looks really, really good with that snow text on it. I really like that stuff, even though it is a little expensive, but no more than you use it just for, you know, Christmas time. Okay, so let me show you what I was talking about. Wasn't paying attention, and I painted the back side. The front side's got the etched where the nail holes or nail heads were supposed to look, be painted. But you know what? You guys are the only ones and me that know. So now the way, I wanted to show you the way that I now put my hangers on, thanks to somebody else on Facebook, because the stapler goes through these staples, the smallest ones, the shortest ones they make, unless you put something under it to keep it from going through the depth on it, it goes through the wood, the 1/4-inch wood that we use. So whoever came up with this, I'm sorry I don't remember your name or who it was, but the way to do it, and I'm going to get something, let me get another piece of wood to show you. Here's the big snowman. Here's the snow baby. Aren't they so cute? Okay, so instead of nailing it directly into the wood, you glue these little, you can get hearts, stars, circles, just so many different shapes. I got these off of Amazon, but you glue them on the back of your piece. Just glue them down with E6000, something that's going to hold it well. And so you just glue it down, and then when you get ready to staple your string or yarn, bow, whatever you're going to be, ribbon, whatever you're going to be putting on there, you staple it to this. This will be securely down with your glue, and then you staple it to these pieces, and it does not go through to your wood, and it's secure and it's cute. I stained mine. You could paint them to match whatever you're doing on there, but that completely solves the problem of the staple. If I just went through this and stapled through there, it's going to go through the wood. So this is just enough that it keeps it from going through. And they're just, I don't know what the thickness of them is, but it's just enough. So circles, hearts, just any kind of little shapes, you can find them just anywhere, but just enough to keep it from going through your wood. So there's your another Tuesday tip. And that's just been a game changer for me, because it's so disheartening to spend, what have we been on here now? 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 3.5 hours. I think that's a record for me. But we've been on here, you know, that long, and you spend that much time on a piece, and then you go to nail your hanger in, and it goes through and ruins it. So, you know, that's so very frustrating. So this is a complete game changer for me, and thank you, whoever was on Painters Clubhouse and told us about that. I appreciate it so very much. And that's what's wonderful about this, is sharing everything. You know, not being selfish with your tips and letting others know to make their life easier, you know, when they're painting. But there it is. So what do you think? I think he's a sweetie. I love painting snowman. So sorry that took so long. I guess I talked too much. I don't know. But there's a lot of little details. Laura, you said you bought your great-grandson a bank for his birthday in November, but they sent me the wrong one, so I've got one gift. Oh, one gift. Can't see more there. I'll read it here in just a little bit. I know. I'm thinking with all the shipping issues and things, all those boats and the ships and the docks that are stuck, we need to probably start ordering as quickly as we can. I'm hoping we get everything we order. Only 16 more grandkids to go. And a great-granddaughter. Whew, you do. I've got 6 right now, and that's a lot, plus my kiddos, so that's a lot too. So, well, thank you so very much for hanging in here with me for my longest live ever. But we learned tonight, we learned how to reverse a pattern, hang it up to the window, and paint on the back of it. You learned how to use Snow Tech, and it'll stay dry for most of the night. It'll take it a little while to, to dry. You learned using buttons, anything 3D that you can use. Let's see, what else did you learn? You learned snowflakes. Trying to think of some things that I haven't really worked with you. The glitter grabber is wonderful. I love, love, love that because it really does get your money's worth out of your glitter paint. So that is it for tonight, girls. I will put my hanger on. I have to wait for the Snow Techs to dry before I do that. Thank you. Let me hold the other one up. Okay, you can see on this one what I'm talking about. Just stapling it onto there gives it just enough thickness that it will not go through the wood. So I think that is awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I've got 2 here. Of course, it'll be a little more costly if you use the letters, the wooden letters, than it would be if you just write it on. I'll probably go over these letters. They need to be a little bit thicker. But there you go. So I've got another item for the craft show. Yay, yay, yay. Well, good night, ladies. Thank you so much. You learned how to paint pine needles. Oh, yeah, that was another thing that we haven't done in a while. I do have a tutorial on here on how to do a wreath, kind of with some pine needles, but with just pouncing on some stuff. We did that. I did that on an ornament at the retreat, and they really liked that. So go back and find that. And trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. I need to learn how to paint a pine cone for these pine trees. But again, on this, you could do, it would be so cute to do little Christmas trees on the side and maybe some little animals down here with it. Or not to even put a snowman or anything on it, just to do decorative. It'd be beautiful with just doing a buffalo plaid and a big red bow. You know, you could put Santa on it. There's just no end to what you could do with it. It's just a sweet little piece. I really, really am enjoying it. But that's it. I'm going to go eat me some supper and let my husband know that I am still alive up here. But thank you. I enjoyed so very much visiting with you. And don't forget about the craft show if you're local. It's at the Howe High School in Howe, Texas, and it is November the 13th from 9 to 4, and it's either $1 or $2 to get in. I think it's just $1, but we'll have lots of vendors there, so spread the word about it. We would love to have everybody with COVID. It's been hard to get the word out, so anything you can do to help us advertise for that, we would appreciate it, and I hope I'll see you there. If you do come, and you are my follower and you watch on here, please, please, please come to my booth and tell me hello. I'll be up, if you're facing the stage, I'll be on the left-hand side of the stage. So come and say hi to me. I would love to meet you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.